Hello all YouTubers, I am the Weather Dude. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning back into this hurricane season discussion for July 3rd, 2020. Before I get on with today's video, however, I would ask that every single one of you please smash that subscribe button and ring the bell notifications. Thank you guys so much for 600 subscribers. Let's get to our next goal of 700 subscribers and to our next long-term goal of the big 1,000. So please smash that subscribe button and ring the bell notifications, as well as watching the whole video. Both of these things really do support my channel, and watching the whole video, it's a win-win. You get the best part of the content, and I get the watch time, which I really do need for my channel. And please also like and share this video. Thank you. Now let's get on with today's video. So today is going to be my 13th hurricane season discussion. Again, I'll have a mini forecast at the end of the video. However, the main focus of this video is a hurricane season discussion. I would say my 8th hurricane season discussion is where I had my last official forecast, but I still will, again, be doing a mini forecast at the end of this video. So this is signs of a hyperactive 2020 Atlantic hurricane season, and my 13th hurricane discussion, and why we do actually have some important information that could possibly tweak our forecast a little bit. So let's dive right into it here. So in case you guys didn't know, we went from inactive, which is right in the middle here, to we've been upgraded to what's called a La Nina watch, meaning our chances have definitely increased for a La Nina. Now, when that happens, we're not quite sure about. It could be late fall, it could be during the winter time. We're not quite sure. It could be early fall. But the fact is, in some point within the next, few months or the next 7 months, that La Nina watch, again, doesn't guarantee La Nina will occur. It's just that the La Nina odds in the southern hemisphere spring, which is the opposite here, has increased to around 50%. All right, so that's twice normal likelihood. All right, so status change follows cooling. Obviously, the tropical Pacific has been really cooling down, and also more models have been suggesting that we could reach La Nina thresholds in the coming months. So definitely we're going to be looking at barometeorology for more updates, but that actually was issued pretty recently. I actually talked about that in my last hurricane season discussion video. So let's go through some of the borough models here, because I think my next video, if not maybe 2 videos after this one will probably get some updates. But we still did have some updates here, and here's how it looks here. So for July, again, a lot of the models are close to La Nina, but we're still at somewhat of a neutral phase. As you can see, NASA is one of the really bullish models, all right, because they almost have us in a La Nina already, which is not quite true. All right, but barometeorology model, which is the top model that you see on the first model that you see, they indicate about a 0.2 degrees below average, which is pretty accurate. A lot of models are in between neutral and La Nina here. All right, and by the time we get to August, we have 3 models by Australian standards. Again, in case I have some new viewers out there. All right, by Australian standards, it's 0.8 degrees below average. By American standards, it's 0.5 that you need for a La Nina. So I kind of like the American standards a little bit better, but keep in mind that by American standards, you can't hit 0.5 degrees below average and just have a La Nina. Obviously, it has to stay there for a considerable amount of time. Otherwise, it would just be a coincidence, because it can easily hit 0.5 degrees below average and just go right back up. All right, so JMA medium models are some models that are a little bit behind. Usually the euro would be like that, but the euro is actually looking pretty accurate here because it's the European model. They're about a half a degree below average. They're predicting for August here. If you go to September, you see some of the models back down, like the CanSIPS backs down a little bit. So is NASA, but we still do have a few models that are in the La Nina. And you can see by the mean, in case you guys didn't know, this is the average of all 8 of these models here. All right, they take the average of all 8 models and put it right here. So obviously that reads about 0.7 degrees below average, which is the sum of all the models. October, pretty much the same. All right, not much change. And by November, it almost seems like in late summer, some of these models show that we might slow down the acceleration towards La Nina, and in November we might speed up again. All right. And stay tuned, because hopefully soon I'll be doing a first winter discussion, which is pretty weird because I haven't done a fall discussion yet. But obviously those will be 2 separate videos. Maybe like a fall discussion definitely will be coming up, and a winter discussion, which is why you should obviously ring the bell notifications. 0.8 degrees below average here. All right, as a sum of all 8 models here by November. So November, I'd say October, November, these models are pretty much looking at a La Nina here. All right, so here's the latest update here from the spaghetti models here, and kind of looking at the monthly sea surface temperature anomalies. And you can see that we hover very close to, it might even hit La Nina by December, but it depends on which model you look at. Some models hover near the zero line, some plunge way into a La Nina here. Like way below, like that's like a super strong La Nina that a couple models say. That's like more than 2 degrees below average. But other than that, on a month-to-date basis here, we're pretty much staying right below the zero line. And this is pretty much where we are currently. All right. So we're near the zero line, but we're definitely in a neutral, possibly heading towards La Nina here. We look at some of the Nino 3-4 probabilities. Again, very high chance of neutral now, which is 95%, but there's only a 5% chance of La Nina because it's still early yet. But look, we have a third of a chance of La Nina by August. By September, we're at 35, 36% by October, and we still have a 40% chance for La Nina by November. And you can notice the ocean temperature anomalies. And again, these percentages are based off of Australian standards. If we went by American standards, I'm sure these percentages would be a lot higher because they classify La Nina as 0.8, and you can see that some of these, like most of these, only get down to 0.7 here. So I'm sure if it was by American standards, I'm sure these percentages, all 4 of these here, would be a lot higher. Maybe more like 50, 60%. But because it's Australia and Australia is different than us, that is not the case. All right, so here's some Nino 3-4 SST anomalies. And again, you can see July, 0.4 degrees below average. We go down to 0.7 by September. And by November, we plunge even farther to 0.8. So it seems like as of now that we're accelerating towards La Nina. We're starting to. It's not just about the cooling of the ocean water, but that is a big factor. Another big factor is the trade winds as well. All right, hopefully in my next word discussion, I'll be able to put that out there as well, kind of looking at the trade winds, because obviously El Nino does one thing with the trade winds, and La Nina does totally opposite. Basically, that's how they work. Whatever El Nino does is totally opposite of La Nina. It's like they hate each other. All right, they rival each other. Okay, one wants himself to win. All right, El Nino wants El Nino to win, and La Nina wants La Nina to win. That's how it works. All right, but it all depends on how the ocean acts and how the trade winds act. And if we look at the latest ocean temperature anomalies, really I'm really impressed by the Central Eastern Gulf, by the Bahamas and the Northern Caribbean. We have really accelerated the ocean warmth here, which is really going to spring that hurricane growth. And the same thing goes for the East Coast. All right, we're starting to go to the beach here, and I noticed that the water is actually getting pretty warm. And that's really surprising for the fact that it was June at the time. All right, so East Coast, all right, Gulf of Mexico, we've been really doing well with the ocean waters. We're starting to get really far above average. Sometimes when a tropical system or low pressure passes through, behind it we can see some cooler air, and that's why the ocean water cools a little bit. Western Gulf, we have a little bit cooling issues, but that is not a problem because you can see the Gulf is still in the 80s either way. I think right there, I'm not sure if this is Nassau, actually might be just south of there. There's a little bright pink spot that represents most likely 31.5 to 32 degrees Celsius, which is basically 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Other than that, though, we are sub 90 degrees from central southern Florida coastline down to the Bahamas here. So very, very warm waters. This should be happening in about a month or month and a half, and it's already happening now. All right. Other than that, though, even outside of that, Caribbean, Bahamas, Gulf of Mexico, waters are very warm. Even the Gulf Stream is near 30 degrees Celsius. Even the Gulf Stream. All right. The East Coast, all the way up the Jersey Shore here, we're starting to get... we really accelerated the growth, and this is really dangerous for hurricane season. Chesapeake Bay not too long ago was probably in the 50s, like maybe starting June, maybe 6. The Chesapeake Bay, the water temperatures are now in the 80s, and the Chesapeake Bay is always warmer than, say, the Virginia coastline or the Delaware coastline or the Jersey Shore or Long Island. Why is the Chesapeake Bay warmer? Well, because it's not an ocean, it's a bay. So obviously the waters, they don't move as fast, and that actually can help them warm up faster. And also, it's not as large of an area. Obviously, the ocean water takes up all of this. When we talk about Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, but when we talk about the Chesapeake Bay, it's a small area of pretty much non-moving water most of the time, unless there's some gusty winds, and that's different. All right, so that's why Chesapeake Bay is usually quite a few degrees warmer than the coastline surrounding it. If you look at the tropical Atlantic here, looking at our ocean temperature anomalies, earlier in my few hurricane discussions ago, if you guys have watched the whole series here, all 13 of these videos, you saw early that we had some blue developing here. It was starting to get overtaken by orange again in a couple of videos ago on this topic. And now it's more back and forth. We got some blue here, we got some orange here, and some blue here, and some blue here. and we got some more orange, some more above average water as we head towards the Caribbean. So it's been sort of a it's sort of a flip-flop pattern around here. If you look at the ocean temperature anomalies, you can see that the 80-degree waters, as I told you guys, again and again, are going to start to advance. They're starting to advance, actually. And pretty soon, the islands here off the coast of Africa, all right, eventually we'll start to see some 80-degree waters. So when that happens, we're not quite sure yet. All right, but it probably will be happening in the course of a few days. So that's something I'm going to be watching as well. But waters are definitely warming up here. All right, so let's look at the Caribbean SST anomalies here. And you can see, look at the spike we've had. We have a sharp spike in the Caribbean here. We went from near average waters to now a third of a degree above average overall for the entire Caribbean. Obviously, some spots are higher, some spots are lower. That's what makes an average. All right, you might have some spots in the Caribbean that are 2 degrees above average. You might have a spot in the Caribbean where we're 0.1 degrees below average. That's what makes our average temperature. It's to take some highs, take some lows, and really combine them here. MDR, another region that really spiked in our ocean temperature anomalies. We went from right on average, even a touch below average, to about 0.2 degrees above average now. MDR has spiked. North Atlantic has been doing somewhat good recently compared to what it usually does. Like at best, we haven't even really broken the zero line. And we're starting to get close to that again, but North Atlantic is still a little cooler. Again, as I keep saying, this does include the Arctic as well, so it's something to take into consideration. East Tropical Atlantic is a region that goes up and down. It is, of course, on the uptrend because the MDR is as well. All right. If you guys do not know, so some of you new viewers or might be new to weather, the MDR is the main development region where eventually tropical systems will start to form here, you know, come this month, actually. I mean, you'll start to say, we almost saw a tropical system form. I actually did a video now. If you go on my channel, you can actually check it out about it, invest here. Or you can click on it right on the top right corner of your screen. All right, but the MDR is where those tropical systems will start really forming during this month and over the next couple of months. But the East Tropical Atlantic is not just that one region. East Tropical Atlantic is basically this whole region right here. That's basically called the East Tropical Atlantic because it's tropical and tropical systems can form there. That's been a really up and down basis, but we are on an uptrend because the MDR is on an uptrend as well. The Nino 3-4 index, surprisingly, we cracked zero again. We started to see a really sharp plunge and we thought, oh yeah, we're in La Nina already. We went up and we went down again, plunged to 0.4, which is still technically neutral. And we've climbed and now we're above zero. Does this mean, whoa, El Nino? No, it does not. Okay, El Nino means we have to get to like, probably like up here. That's El Nino. So we're way far from that. All right, but we're not too far off from a La Nina either. So that's something to keep in mind. But obviously, it's going to have its ups and downs. But overall trend, when you look back on this hurricane season, you go back to the 1 year graph, you'll be able to look at this over the course of a year. And you'll see overall that we've been on this pretty much on a downward trend towards La Nina. When you look at the tropical intensity index here, much of the Gulf of Mexico, even parts of the, if you want to call it the Bahamas region by the islands, we've started to see a lot more red blossom on the map. And that means that all these areas shaded in orange or red are very favorable for developing tropical systems. So that's really spread a lot over the past week or so. When you look at the 26.5 degree isotherms, in case you guys don't know what that is, basically when the ocean, we know the ocean water temperatures in the Caribbean are 80 degrees plus. We know that. I hate to repeat myself, but I'm not sure if there's any new viewers out there. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. But anyway, 26.5 degree isotherm means we know that we can have 80 degree waters at the surface in the Caribbean. That's great. But what would be really nice to developing tropical systems is if we have 80 degree plus waters below the surface. So this map is asking us, or telling us rather, how far underwater can we go and still see 80 degree waters? Darker the color, like obviously the blue is the worst, green gets better, yellow, and orange and red are the best colors. And you see we have these oranges and reds right here. I mean, we could potentially go 450, 500 feet underwater and still see 80 degree waters. That is crazy. That feeds even more energy into that tropical system or potential tropical system. Look how much tropical cyclonic heat potential we have. The more heat we have, the better, and there it is. That is one thing. I know there's this saying out there is, you know, too much of anything is a bad thing, but there's no such thing as that for hurricanes. The more tropical cyclonic heat there is, the better. The warmer the water for the hurricane, the better. All right. The less wind shear we have for hurricane, the better. I mean, you know, the hurricane, you know, it wants to soak up all the resources that it's getting provided to it. And I don't blame it either. All right.
So when we look at the 26 centigrade isotherms this time for the Gulf of Mexico region, you can see that it's not quite as, the Gulf of Mexico is a region, it's still early, but the Gulf of Mexico is a type of region where we had those 80-degree waters at the surface, but under the surface is when our waters start to cool down a little bit. But don't worry, it'll get there. We still got well over a couple months for the waters to continue to warm here. When you look off to the Caribbean, though, that's where we got those warm subsurface temperatures. But the Gulf of Mexico is just known for a warm surface temperature as opposed to the Caribbean, which is even better. However, we do see a little building region right here, some tropical cyclonic key potential. As I showed you guys, courtesy of the Gulf Stream possibly, that we're starting to see energy getting spilled into the Gulf of Mexico via the northern Caribbean. So that's definitely what's happening there. We're starting to see some tropical cyclonic key building off the southwest coast of Florida, just near Key West and Clearwater and Sanibel Island there in Naples. So when we look at the dry air, obviously the parts of much of the Western Atlantic, the Gulf and the Western Caribbean don't have much dry air to contend with at all. However, we did have that dust plume that really came across the southeast and the east coast. I mean, that was some beautiful sunsets. But we are continuing to see dust come off of Africa again. If we see this continue to act up, if we continue to see the dry air acting like this, that's not going to be good for forming tropical systems. Me personally, I am a huge fan of tracking tropical systems. I'm not a huge fan of when they cause harm to life. Like I said, I love tracking hurricanes. You can give me all the hurricanes you want that stay over the ocean, don't impact people. But when they come on shore and make a deadly landfall, I don't care if it's a tropical storm or a Category 5 hurricane. I mean, honestly, Category 5 hurricane is much worse, but anything from even a tropical depression or even a tropical depression can, it can sadly cause someone to lose their life. It can be a regular low pressure system that spawns a flood. I mean, it happens. All right, but I mean, I love tracking hurricanes. I love all kinds of weather, as long as it just doesn't, doesn't cause harm to human life. When you look at the wind shear here, all right, around the Bahamas, some deep dark blues and even some blacks here, meaning some really, really low wind shear, which is very impressive for this time of year. And these blue outline dots mean we have started to lose some of that wind shear over the past 24 hours, which means that we are trending down, which is good for developing tropical cyclones. Overall, Gulf of Mexico doing very well. Caribbean not so bad on the eastern side. Western side of the Caribbean we're doing a little better, but the east side of the Caribbean we're starting to jack up the wind shear values a little bit, as you see by the black line means we've gained some wind shear. Black line means we've been steady. White line means we've gained wind shear. Blue line means we've decreased it. But you can see over the Atlantic Ocean here, the tropical Atlantic, we've definitely gained some wind shear over the past 24 hours. When you look at the tropical cyclone heat potential, just another version of it by the Bay News Channel 9 here, and you can see that we definitely do have some very high heat content, as I showed you earlier. But look, eventually, that Gulf Stream is going to pick up that energy and spill it all into the Gulf of Mexico. It's starting to happen already, and we're going to continue to see it happen. We're going to continue to see it happen, and you can see the Gulf Stream, it continues. It basically takes the energy, funnels it through the Caribbean without the Caribbean losing the energy, because even though the Caribbean is funneling energy into the Gulf and up the East Coast, it still manages to keep a lot of its energy to itself. All right, so the energy gets carried along the Gulf Stream, and that's how it kind of works. It gets carried along that Gulf Stream, and a lot of heat energy to really, get those hurricanes going. In terms of wind shear, we go up and down, but for now we're a little bit below average in terms of the wind shear on the scale for the Caribbean. For the tropical Atlantic, we are also been sitting below average for a little while now, which is a good trend, but the tropical Atlantic, we're starting to see dry air build, which is not good for hurricanes. When we look at the wind shear anomalies here, all right, you can see that overall, the tropical Atlantic, we do have some average conditions, a little bit above average in spots, a little bit below average in other spots. When we look at 8th of July to the 13th of July, however, you start to see some below average wind shear take over. Obviously, that's better for developing hurricanes. Eastern Caribbean, we're starting to see some lower wind shear values, or at least below average wind shear. But the tropical Atlantic, where those waves are going to start forming, we're starting to see some more dry air start to build. But look what happens here. We really start to see a shift towards some blues, which is good. You might think, oh, red is energy. That's good. No, when we're talking about wind shear, you want to see blue in the map to develop those tropical systems. Here's July 11th to July 16th here. You can see that this trend continues, and by the time you head towards the 14th to the 19th, you can see that really starting to get those below average wind shears over the tropical Atlantic, except with the exception being the African coastline here. My forecast, I did update this a little bit. This is additional storms. This is not counting. All right, this is not counting the storms that we've already had. Did I say that right? All I know, no, these 13 and 19 additional storms. You can count the 4 storms that we've already had. All right. I'm projecting an additional 13 to 19 named storms, 8 to 12 hurricanes, and 3 to 7 major hurricanes. Usually in an entire season, we see 12 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. That is my latest updated version of my little remainder of hurricane season forecast. Obviously, if you want to go back to my channel, look at my 8th hurricane season discussion, or on the top right corner of your screen, you can get the full forecast for the whole hurricane season if that's what you came here for. But either way, it's nice to have a forecast, the latest forecast here for the remainder of the hurricane season. And one more thing to note, I'd show you guys this map a lot. Could we have some building high pressure? Could that steer tropical storms toward the east coast? Question mark? Possibly. All right, this is a big question mark, and I do think it's possible. All right, because when a high pressure builds, obviously you're gonna get that clockwise flow around it to potentially steer those storms towards the United States here. Sometimes it happens if the high pressure weakens and the storms can drift off the sea, or if the high pressure strengthens, depending on where it is exactly, it can steer the storm towards the United States, or just push it well south and it head straight into Mexico or Central America. Weeks later, maybe the same pattern continues. Tropical systems towards the East Coast? Question mark. It's possible. All right, so thank you for watching today's video, guys. I am the Weather Dude, signing off. Until next time, catch you guys next video.